All right. I'm live. So, hey guys, Brian Gilbert, Casual Rambler, here. That's my brother texting me. No one's on here yet, so I'm just gonna do this so I can save it for later, so it's on there. All right, what's up, Glamorous Casual? Thanks for joining. So yeah, again, I'm Brian Gilbert, Casual Rambler. What's up, Dave? I'm based out of Baltimore, Maryland, in the U.S. For those of you who don't know, and I wanted to make these videos to kind of give you guys an idea of how I got to the casual scene. You know what my background is. You know what the whole thing is for me. So anyway, here we go. I guess I'll start with. Sorry, also, this is all last minute, so lighting kind of sucks, and I look like hell. Anyway. I was, growing up listening to, British Invasion stuff from my dad and like soul and R&B and disco stuff from my mom and pop stuff too. So I got a really, broad background musically as a kid and got really into music. First I was, my dad was a big Beatles guy, so we got into them heavy. And the Stones and the Who, the Kinks, the Doors, MC5. No, MC5 is later. Sorry. The Nuggets record as well, if you guys know that, the big garage compilation that Rhino put out, was one of my favorite records as a kid, and I had no idea what it actually, would turn out to be later in my life. But anyway, so yeah, got a real basis in just British music and stuff, and kind of an interest in that sort of thing. And the Beatles looked neat, and so did Keith Richards, and so did Brian Jones, and so did Pete Townsend, all those guys. So anyway, that's just a kid. You listen to your parents' music, and that's what I did. I just happen to have really good music from my parents. Then I guess flash forward to I guess 12, turning 13. My buddy AJ, who had moved away. We were good friends in grade school. He had moved away. His birthday's a day after mine. Anyway, he calls me and says, Gilbert, because we're both big comic book dorks. We're like 13. We both just turned 13 like that day. And he goes, Gilbert, I got this CD by this band, the Ramones, called Adios Amigos. You gotta check it out. I'm like, okay, like what's up? He goes, the secret song on the CD is the Spider-Man theme song, which we thought was the coolest thing. So I get a gift card for a local, record shop, chain shop called Sam Goody, and I went and bought Adios Amigos. And my parents had just split up at the time, for context, for a little bit, and I'm 13, I get the CD and I put it in my CD player. And the first song is a Tom Waits cover of a song called I Don't Want to Grow Up. If you're familiar with the Ramones and that song, it's to hear that out of the gate changed everything as far as I was concerned for, musically. So, I listened to that for a couple of months. I don't know anything from anything, I'm not even aware I'm listening to punk rock at the time. I just thought this band was great. So, and this is all pre-Google. This is all before all that shit. So there was no, it was me going to the library to find, books about shit if I had to do that. Anyway, I get in this record. I buy their greatest hits, and Judy is a Punk is track number 5 on it. And I'll never forget, oh shit, so this is punk music. And that was it. I figured out, what it was and what I was doing, I guess, and I ran with it. Oh, hey Dan, good, you're here. Please stay. You'll enjoy this. So I got those Ramones CDs, and that's when I realized I was into punk rock. So like I said, I went to the local library and, had to find out about punk rock. I didn't know. I was a little kid from the county. I didn't know what the hell punk was. So, I get this book called, From the Velvets to the Voidoids, a pre-punk history for a post-punk world. I forget who wrote it. It was killer. It's along the lines of Please Kill Me by Legs McNeil, but I think better. But it gave this whole thing about what punk was, and CBGBs and the Talking Heads and Blondie, and me going, oh, they're punk bands, weird. And that was when I first heard of the MC5, which we'll come to much later in this video, or in this series. But, find out who those guys were was a thing. So anyway, get into punk rock. I go to school that next, that next day or week or the start of the year, whatever, and I've got a shaved head now and a Ramones t-shirt. It's this Ramones t-shirt that I got from a kiosk at the mall when I was 13, so this is 26 years ago. And the 2 other older kids in our class who had mohawks noticed, and I started talking to me. So my buddy Jeff Parmigiani, the next day made me a mixtape from Richard Hell to like Warpath and Crass and all kinds of stuff, just across the board of what punk rock, kind of was. And that was like, I was a punk kid. I had a skateboard. I, had a shaved head and wore Vans and, my Ramones t-shirts, and Rancid had happened at the time. So that was still kind of okay. So, we got into that because we were kids. And then I went to high school, Mount St. Joe, freshman year. I walk in my little gas station jacket, my Ramones patch on the shoulder. And in Columbia, in the neighborhood I grew up in, there was this lakefront area where all the kids would hang out, and it was mainly like the goth kids and the punk kids and skinheads and shit would all go down there and just not be at their parents' house. So we started hanging out there, and I met a couple dudes, down there and whatnot. Anyway, I get to St. Joe, and there's, I bump into Jeff, who had gone to the same school, and Jeff told me where the punk rock table was and all that kind of, so I sat at the lunch table where we all sat, and it was, it was 5 skinheads, a couple of ska kids, and Jeff and Scott and Alan were the punk guys, and there was me. And I really wasn't aware of skinheads at the time until I met these guys. I just really kind of, I was really kind of just getting into stuff. Nick Charzin, Joe Griffin, Chewy, it was those dudes. And Gareth, of course, was there as well. And Bobby and Dan were the ska guys. Like I said, Scott and Jeff and Alan were the punk kids. And then me. So anyway, when Jeff gave me that tape, P.S., he said, listen, there's a guy in town who makes punk rock buttons. You got to go see him. And it was this black and white flyer for a thing called Action Reaction. It was all like, you could buy and get your buttons made and buy, whatever buttons you wanted. Well, it turns out it was run by a guy named Chase, who lived on this street, St. Paul Street in Ellicott City. St. Paul Street was this little historic uphill street. And every house on it was populated by mods, skinheads, and rude boys. And Mod Dave is laughing because he knows this, but it's true. St. Paul Street was mythic to us because there were scooters there, and there were kids who looked, better than we did. So anyway, so I get into punk rock, and then this guy, Brock was the other ska guy. Broxton is a friend of mine. So Broxton takes me under his wing, gets me into ska. Hands me a mixtape that I think one side was the Pie Taster Strap Live from 93 or whatever, and then the other side was just a bunch of different ska stuff. So again, from Desmond Decker to the Toasters at the time and that sort of thing. So I started going, then, so whatever, all that happens. And there is a local show happening called Skalloween, where the Mobtown Beat, who at the time were the local ska band, were going to be playing, along with the Boom Boom Cats, DOE, Mobtown Beat, and I forget who the opening band was. Anyway, that was the first show I ever went to. First bands I ever saw, first thing I ever did was Skalloween. 1996. I met a guy named Mike Belt, who I'm still dear friends with to this day. At that show, I met Bobby. I first saw Eddie McIntosh, Bruto Boy, who I post on here a lot, a dear friend of mine to this day. Was dressed as a skinhead girl with his tooth blacked out. And I'll never forget Sarah Mathis and Mary Smith getting really pissed at him because why do all the skinhead girls always have missing teeth? I'll never forget that either. But anyway, that's when I first even bumped into other people, skinheads, whatever. It was my first show. It was my first live anything. It was amazing, and that was it. Like I was done. Thank you. Thanks about the hat. Topo Designs. I don't think they carry this one anymore, but they got a bunch and some new colors. Dan, yep. So I met Bobby, my friend Bobby Babylon, DJ Bobby Babylon, Bob Mazuski, Babalu, at that show. Met Danny later at the next show. But yeah, I started to cultivate a little group of friends who were into rude boy shit and liked, all the same music and looked really neat, and that was my thing. I was really drawn to the look of, the fashion aspect was big for me and all this stuff. That's kind of what the point of this video is, I guess. So, so then I start to get to know the skinhead guys. I have a copy, shipped in of a Spirit of 69, which at the time was the small copy you could still get. I still have it over here somewhere. Um, got in trouble for reading in school one time. That was fun. But yeah, so anyway, so I do punk rock. I start getting a ska. I buy a suit. My mom is floored. And then I start kind of getting into skinhead subculture. Again, that would because I started meeting guys again like Nick and Joe, for better or worse, Tony Donahue, Dave Mathis, guys like that, the DC guys. We were doing a lot of DC ska shows and stuff. We're going to DC a lot for that because there wasn't much happening around at the time here in Baltimore, at least until about a couple years later. Anyway, so through all this, again, St. Paul Street, Lincoln City, coming back to this. So Mod Dave, who is at Vulcan House on here now. Dave, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your new name. So Mod Dave it is for this one. So the pin guy Chase, who I told you about, lived on St. Paul Street. I was dropped off at his house by my mom for an hour to pick out buttons. So anyway, long story short, I end up my senior year of high school meeting, and finally hanging out with these people from St. Paul Street. Mod Dave and Bridget and Chase and Dan, Rich, Tony, Lee, Flynn, who am I forgetting? Sarah and Dave, like I said. Anyway, so again, you go through all the stuff the same way, and you kind of walk your way through it and do the whole thing. So we got in all that, right? So the reason I'm kind of rushing through this part is, it's kind of a fun part. Sorry. Anyway, skinheads. So again, the fashion drew me to it at first. I mean, obviously with the music as well, but I really, I liked the look. It was a different look, but it was an alternative look, but it looked proper. Like it looked like you knew what you were doing, shockingly. I started dressing better. I started wearing my jeans that fit. I started wearing a polo shirt outside of school. All right, Dan, love you too, bud. It'll be up here, and like I said, I'm going to backtrack on all this again anyway later. So have a good one, man. Anyway, so the fashion drew me to it. The pictures in books like Skinheads by Gavin and Spare 69, things like that. It was a hard look. It was a clean look. It was something that nobody else was doing. It was easily identifiable. Now, that being said, in America, there was a very different idea about skinheads than there was in the UK. Now, we know why that is, in the UK. It was happening there as well. But the only thing we really knew over here of skinheads was racism. So there was that as well. But so again, it was fashion based, and I started learning about Fred Perry and Ben Sherman and these different, and the youth culture and what, what it all was, what mod was, kind of like more about that and the whole thing, and kind of realized how much it was all connected between, the mod look that formed into, Skin and Suede and Smooth and, Boot Boy and the whole thing. So, it all started to kind of, make sense that it was together as a whole. So, you kind of do all the parts of that, I guess, when you're doing it, So, so then I go to college, right? And college is whatever, but I'm the only skinhead that I know of on campus, and I was worried about that. Because, again, it's not people don't think first things are great about that look and that scene. But, it's anything like that. I met people who were, of course, had skinhead friends from home, and I met their buddies, and we had, I just met everything in my life has been attached to these things, and the people I've met, the things I've seen, the things I've done, the things I've been a part of, are all connected to this youth cult thing that we like, Again, I mentioned before that my parents, were what got me into music. My mom was big into soul. So was my dad, because they were, my dad, played in garage bands in 66 to 70 and stuff. My mom is a couple years younger than he is. So, they were all, around at the time. But I mentioned that for a reason, because then later on, back to the music, you get, I did the mod thing for a long, I'm always a mod. It's all mod to me, in the end of this thing. That's kind of part of what this casual thing ended up being for a couple of us. But the point is, like I said, the things I was able to do, even just through all of this and being a part of these subcultures and being involved with this thing, I was able to have a decade of a really good DJ career, doing a huge night in my hometown that allowed me to meet people like John Waters and Kid Congo and John Spencer and Fred Snyder, the B-52s, who are all people I can call on the phone now and, are friends of mine because I decided to, pick up a record when I was 13 and it put me on this whole path. So, over the years, the looks all kind of, again, became one and part of the other, mod heavy as my hair grew out, which was fine, and, you're always wearing Fred Perry's, you're always wearing, a proper pair of, trainers or boots or shoes, you never look unkempt anyway once you start doing that. So one day I get a call from Mod Dave or I'm down at the shop or something, and Dave's like, "Hey man, have you heard about this like casual scene thing?" Because now back to that, I'd also my football background. So with the whole skinhead thing, football is a part of it, not so much here in America, but why not see what that's all about when I'm 13 and 14 years old? Here locally, at the time, there was a Monday afternoon show on Fox Sports or on Fox TV that would play like the match of the week and then like little 5-minute versions of all the matches that weekend. And it was 96, so we're talking a decent season for who I'm going to talk about. And I keep seeing Alan Shearer in Newcastle every day. That's the games I kept catching for some reason. And Shearer is amazing. The team is great, and I'm kind of digging the whole thing. And I figured I'll start watching Newcastle. That was, again, 26 years ago, or 25 years ago now. And I've been following Newcastle ever since. That's another connection I'll come back to as well with my buddy Andy, who's a big part of this too. So anyway, again, you know what? Sorry, this is rambling because I'm not writing this down. But here's what I'm going to do. This section is going to be Mod Dave centric. It's going to rotate around the people I was involved with in these things. Okay. So anyway, my point is, we're doing the mod thing, we're doing the whatever thing, Britpop, we're all into it. It's fine, it's great. And Mod Dave mentions, hey, are you like we all knew about hooligans? We weren't hip to the casual thing, at the time. It wasn't over here outside of Liam Gallagher wore parkas. And Dave goes, yeah, there's this whole fucking like switched on, fashion deal, at the in football right now. And it's like it's an extension of mod, man. It's like it's because mod to us had gotten so stuck in the 1964 shit that it wasn't mod. I mean, it's not modern. It can't be, So with all the sportswear and the and the tech fabric and the whole thing was like, this is and all the and of course the the peacock aspect, the the limited nature of the clothing, the I have it and you don't, was all very mod, and to us it was just a natural extension of it, So it wasn't hard to just we just kind of started getting into that look. I mean, into the look, into this. I mean, again, we're already we're already into football. We're already into the music. We just kind of started to really get, pick up on what, the in the know we're doing. I mean, we were, like a handful of American dudes sitting here trying to figure out what all this shit is about. Fashion wise. Because it was counter to what was happening here. Because a lot of the look was just normie kind of stuff, but not in the way. But it wasn't being worn that way. It wasn't being, it wasn't North Face for the pricks. It was like, no, we're wearing, whatever it is for, whatever reason. So I think you understand what I'm saying. Anyway, and that was where our first foray into it. There was message boards. Again, the ITK message board was a big one, I think, at the time. And picking up clothes, on eBay or wherever the hell, if somebody's brother was going abroad, we would definitely try to hand them, a couple $100 to get something for us we couldn't get over here, I mean, whether it be a Fred Perry shirt even, or football scarves. Even down to that we couldn't really get, outside of a few very, places. So that's what started us into it, and I bought my first fake Stone Island off eBay thanks to Matt Walter. What's up, buddy? Actually, me, Mod Dave, and Matt all bought the same fake fucking jacket off eBay. But so that being said too, at that time I think Football Factory had just come out, possibly before that. So again, there was frame of reference for it. Kind of like Quadrophenia. What's up? How we doing, man? Kind of like Quadrophenia was for the whole mod thing, and I don't know. There aren't any really good skinhead movies, but anyway, Football Factory was our first. Again, was one of those things like, oh shit, okay, that's, it was another kind of frame of reference movie. Now in hindsight, it is what it is, Denny Dyer, and all that. But again, we started to learn. And again, at the time with eBay being not like it is now, we were able to get sample. I was able to get One True Saxon sample pieces, for $100, for nothing, that I really wish I held on to. All the early Ninja Hood stuff they did. We were able to get, the sportswear was cheaper. I mean, like you could still find the Bjorn Borg jackets. I mean, they weren't cheap, don't get me wrong, but they weren't what they are now. I had the Henry Lloyd bomber from the fucking movie, and the whole thing. And we just kind of made do with, kind of really sprucing up our Fred Perry shirts. Is kind of what it turned into, but we started to get into, and again, I say get into, but again, it was just a progression of what we're already doing. It was just a further push on a lot of the aspects of, all of the stuff we had done before, and the music came right in line with it, because we're already listening to, Stone Roses were already on the stereo. We didn't have to pretend like it was something we weren't into, and I think that's the reason I wanted to make these videos, as part of that, because I feel like, it's easy to do a lot of this shit now. You can just out of the box be whatever you want to be tomorrow because you Googled it correctly. But this was all when it was still, and again, and that's the draw of this whole thing too, is that exclusivity and the kind of still having to be in the know to really do what to really look the business. But this is rambling now. How long have I been doing this? Probably half an hour. No, not even 20 minutes. Okay. So again, that's a broad overview, kind of deal. I'm gonna recap probably my 20s to now next time. I'm gonna try to do these once a week. If I can do another one before the weekend, I will. But I'm off every Wednesday from work now, so I've got the house to myself. I can just record and talk about dumb shit, and no one's gonna care. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this. I hope it made some sense. If it doesn't, I'm gonna watch it again myself and probably recap next time. Thanks to everybody who was involved in the stories, actually in the stories themselves, who came and checked this out for me. And I will see you all guys soon. Thank you very much. And have a good day. Bye, guys. Okay. So, maybe I'm not going to.